Okay. Let's get the mic check. We are live. We are live. All right. Shout out to everybody coming in. This is gonna be an interesting topic. We're talking about buying houses, and we're getting people involved in buying houses. So shout out to everybody that looks at this. You might learn something. It might be something that already know, and you pretty much are just trying to have an understanding that when I do learn this or I'm learning this, how is this helping me, in the process? Everybody has their stuff that they go through. Everybody has situations to the point where, life get hard, and what's the next step? The biggest thing, a lot of people talk about is, the American dream, owning a home. And like they say, having that uh 2.5 kid in the house. And overall, you can see that vision when you set the stage of what? Investing in yourself, buying a home, providing for your family. You got a situations where you do rentals and things of that nature. And hey, with rental properties, it's a good thing for some people. And to a degree, you can outgrow rental properties. But right now, I'm about to go ahead and bring a guest up and we can set the stage of, see where things go from there. All right. So, well, let me get ready and bring them up. Hello, how you doing, Corey?
I'm doing good. How's everything, Rashid?
All right. And so now we're going to be talking about buying a home. So basically, you know, I talked to you, me and you've been friends for a minute, and
Mhm.
basically going through the process and emotion of you getting homes and dealing with things. And so when it come down to it,
Yep, I'm listening.
sorry about that. I had a little connection, somebody called. But did anybody teach you about buying houses? Like, what was the process on that?
Man, I learned through research, um, YouTube videos, grabbing books, articles on the web, and I think a lot of my knowledge came from most definitely talking to different real estate agents and different mortgage loan providers, calling banks, getting their understanding on the process. And I come from a background where I do a lot of research in my industry, in the IT industry, learning new processes. So it wasn't hard for me to to, to actually come on here and try to figure out, okay, what do I need to do to get what I'm trying to get accomplished. So it was just a lot of research and development. I didn't have anyone that showed me the ropes or provided me that inside knowledge on how to get this done. It was just me going in here trying to figure out what I want to accomplish and researching my path to get in there.
Okay. All right. I mean, that's the biggest thing. But a lot of people, research is the key. And, I talk about that a lot about people, actually having an understanding on what they're doing as far as taking the time learning these things about if I'm going to fix a car, let's say I want to change a tire. I never changed a tire in my life. You have YouTube videos. You have people that actually change tires themselves. You can go to a shop. 9 times out of 10, older gentlemen, they have, dealt with the points of changing tires. So they can give you some pointers or just basically show you how to change a tire. So, you know,
Yeah,
that's good information, man.
yeah.
So
The thing is this. That's the most important part of this. This goes back to that measure 10 times cut once when you think about it. And I even go to the extent I'll call, let's just say, Bank of America or whatever mortgage company I'm looking into. I'll call them. I'll have a list of questions that I didn't pulled off of the internet, Google. what to ask loan officers, what to ask real estate agents, and I'll go down that list of questions and I'll find the site with the most questions, 20 questions, 15 questions. Because sometimes you don't even know what questions to ask. So you got to do some research on that. Um, and I'll call the companies, Bank of America, and I'll get somebody on the line, and then I'll go through my list of questions. I'll hang up from them, take good notes, and I'll call Bank of America right back just to get another teller to see if she'll tell me the exact same thing. Because everybody knows these companies are not training their people properly, and you will get conflicting information. And 2 weeks later, I'll call those same companies back and do the same thing, ask questions, and hang up and call them right back. And I'll do this with about 3 or 4 different mortgage loan providers. I'll do this with about 3 or 4 different real estate agents and whoever else I need to talk to in order to go through the process. But it is most definitely not a first call. Do whatever you got to do on that very first call, and then let that be the process. Don't rush it. Don't rush the process, and do not rush the uh, don't rush the research, because the more you know, and the better you got an understanding of it, the easier this whole process will go.
Okay. So I got a question about renting. And have you rented before? And pretty much the point of what made you buy your first house.
Okay, yeah, of course. I've rented, especially in my younger years when I didn't have money to buy houses, or I was ignorant to the house purchasing process, and didn't realize that I could have bought a house. Um, so yeah, I've rented apartments. I've rented houses. Now, I the only house I've ever rented was when I went to California for a job that I was working, and I knew that was going to be a temporary thing, and I rented a house then. Um, but if I am going to move to somewhere and I know I'm gonna be there for an extensive period of time, or I don't mind having a house there, try not to rent. Try to purchase a house in that location. Give you an example. When I moved from California to Augusta, now I know eventually I was gonna make it back to Atlanta where I'm born and raised. But when I moved over to Augusta, I purchased a house. I didn't rent because I didn't mind having a house in Augusta, and it wasn't that far from Atlanta. What made me buy my first house was I was I that year, the same year, I decided that I wanted to get married, and we was having a kid. So I said, well, I need to have a house to put my wife and kid in now. So I went ahead and utilized my VA loan, and I went through my process, did my research, start calling around different mortgage loan providers, and I used my VA loan in order to purchase my first house.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. A lot of people with doing the research, and typically when you have kids, that's one of the things that kind of, make you look at the point of actually getting a home, and going through the process is dealing with your kids. So yeah, I get you on that because that was one of the reasons why, the main reason why I wanted, to have a house for the kids and for the family as well. And like you say, going through your VA loan, and I learned the process of me not being a veteran, I can still take advantage of VA loans because you get these things that we don't actually have an understanding, and seeing that me not being a veteran, could I get a VA loan? And the typical things like you was talking about earlier, doing your research, calling around, figuring out things. So, you know, that's the whole process. So that's what I got right there on the screen about, you know, down payments on your home, and just a lot of times, if you have the money, you can have it up front. You have a gift. you know, retirement, 401k, things of that nature. There's different assets that you can put into when you're putting down on the house. And, for the most part, hey, it's all about, like you say, doing your research, having an understanding of, the process on how you want to buy a house, what do you want to do, and hey, getting the job done. So I want
Mhm.
to kick it off to the next question. Um, Basically on the process of all when you were buying houses, especially like when you bought your first house, about the knowledge and stuff you gave an influence on that, talked about how you do, got into that. And with me knowing you, I kind of know more of a background. So when you bought your first house, everything was good. Um, Second house, you want to move, you know, let's say, did you want to go ahead and take that first house and did you sell it and moved and found you something else? And what was the process on that?
So yeah, that second house. So when I first bought my first house, I was in the Lithonia, Georgia area. Um, I got a job that was in Arizona, and then eventually got a job in California. Uh, 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 I got a job in Arizona, but eventually, my wife, she wanted to come back to Georgia,
Okay.
and so by doing that, I needed in my house that was already here, the Lithonia property. It was rented out because we rented it out when I first moved to Arizona. So it wasn't a house to come back to because it was rented under contract, and I didn't plan on kicking those renters out. So I went and started researching other loan types. My VA loan was already tied into the property in Lithonia. And for those that don't know, you can utilize your VA loan more than once on the on properties at the same time. It's just different. It's other stipulations, but you most definitely can. But at the time, I did not use my VA loan to come back. I decided to take the FHA route. So I got an FHA loan, and I moved back to Georgia so that the kids and the wife, that's where they wanted to be at, and that's how I ended up getting the second property.
Okay, cool. And basically, like you say, with the process that you doing that, getting a second property, and so like, was it an easy process on doing it? And you got excited, like, the whole process you did it get you interested in buying more properties, or you just, got your two houses and you was one and done. You was waiting for the other people to move out. How did that process take place?
Ooh, no, that second process was horrible.
Okay.
Um, it was not, but perseverance and just sticking through it and seeing things through and powering right through is what you need to do in everyday life on anything you're trying to accomplish. You see those walls coming up, you power through those walls. You try to figure out how to get around them. You try to figure out how to get over them, or you just figure out how to go right through it. So that second process was, I think we had closing delayed 3 or 4 times. We was having a hard time getting it through. Um, the getting it through, and the main reason was not because there was anything wrong with the paperwork. It was because I had two houses, and both of them were um, government backed uh, mortgage loans,
Okay.
and it was kind of like they wanted me to just go back into my old house. And it felt like they didn't want me to get that second house. They wanted me to go back into my old house. But like I told them, and don't, regardless on what they wanted or their feelings. I didn't want to do that, and I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to put the renters out, and there was no reason for them not to give me that loan. So we just powered through it, and we provided them the documents they wanted, needed, and they eventually caved in and gave me the house. So it was just purely me having two government loans at the same in the same location. But the thing was, one was rented out, and that was because I moved over a year prior, and now I was coming back.
Okay. I mean, hey, good information, during the loan process, taking that step, no matter how tedious the process was, the process in which the issue they wanted you not to get, the secondary home, and you doing your research and having an understanding that it was obtainable. It just took time. So a lot of people, they kind of fought out when some of the process was a little bit too hard. You kind of tend to, fold and don't want to, continue with it because I'm quite sure within that time frame, you already had it set for you to move into the home within, after the due process and, getting the paperwork signed and all that. And
Hmm.
even with the loan officer with their process. So that stretched back more of a time for you, your family to get settled in the home and, making other arrangements to, stay until the process is done. I know that was kind of tedious, but it looked like you handled it well and, got the process done.
Yeah, I
And
mean, some would call that, um, some people would have done this phrase "stopping short of gold," and you can't do that. If you've done your research and you strategize correctly and you did your numbers and things are looking in the right looking in the right position, then I don't think you should go ahead and trust your guts, and you should trust your instincts and trust yourself, especially if you've done the research. Power through it.
okay. All right. And I got one more question to ask you because pretty much we done went through a lot of the information, helping people look at the points and buying a house, taking from your situation, going through two houses, and you know, Ty went through, got it done. Um, other investments, a lot of people say that properties, um, a guy on here, Alonzo Hall, the All-Star Advisor, one of the guys I normally talk about, he does life insurance. He has his realtor's license. And, since I'm selling life insurance, you would think, well, he's only selling you a dream, but then you have a lot of other people besides him talk about being a homeowner, having real estate and having insurance as being a big thing to actually have in your portfolio. But do you invest in any other things besides, your real estate? Do you invest in stocks? I mean, just other slew of things, crypto or something that could, because a lot of people they look at things and they say, well, they don't really know too many people doing it, and a lot of people just don't research. I've talked to people that have e-commerce business and they're doing pretty good, and it just was a slow process to get off to. And you don't have to say all the stuff, but basically just run out a couple of things that you kind of look at or invest in to the point where you're a homeowner, you have it set up. If all else fails, you have literally two houses that's going into the book as far as your family. And what other investments are you teaching the kids stuff, to kind of get them motivated as well? Just small frame of that.
Yeah. So I actually have a total of five houses.
Okay.
Um, but I'm gonna tell you the number one thing you want to invest in, and that is yourself. Invest in your knowledge, invest in your health, invest in your mental capabilities. And I think a lot of individuals forget that aspect of it. Um, they want to get rich quick. So, oh man, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into this stock market and put this $500 in here, and then three a month later, 2 months later, 3 months later, it's gonna turn into $5,000. No, it won't. And if it did, everybody would do it. Who wouldn't want to change $5,000 into, I mean, $500 to $5,000 in 3 months? Who wouldn't want that? So you got to invest in yourself, invest in your knowledge. Don't just go into an investment because you heard somebody did and then you jumped into it. Do your research. And I know it's tedious and hard, but you're gonna have to rotate it. Look at videos, grab the book. Don't just don't just go off of YouTube videos or podcasts. You also gotta look at the books. You also gotta go and shake hands and kiss babies and talk to people about what you're trying to do. And most importantly, yeah, you do use podcasts and videos. You incorporate that in there. I got a lot of great information off of YouTube, a lot of great information off of podcasts. But you diversify your knowledge just like you diversify your portfolio. I invest in stocks. I've enjoyed investing in stocks since my early 20s, where I was getting into stock and putting money down, and it I've learned a lot over the years in the stock market. I've gained money, lost money. Luckily, I've gained more than I've lost. But it most definitely has been a blessing and a great experience for me. So crypto, you know, uh, this is I like crypto. But I have a little distaste in my mouth for crypto because back when I was doing currency trading, I was surfing the internet and I was just trying to find something new and interesting to invest in. And this was back in 2000, and you can even look it up. This was back in 2000 and what 13, 2013, 2014 time frame. And I came across this new investment where you put this cryptocurrency in a wallet and you can save it and use it to buy things, and basically what we calling that now is Bitcoin. And at that time Bitcoin was about $100 a coin. It was going up and down, $50, $100 a coin. And I was most I was really interested because it wasn't no different than what I was already doing. I was doing crypto currency trading.
Yeah, Forex.
Yeah, Forex,
Okay.
exactly. I was on Forex. I had the account. I was going in there and I watched my money go up. I watched my money go down, and it was, I was doing currency trading. I wanted to try something different, and I came across Bitcoin. It was $50 to $100 a coin. It was fluctuating, and I bought the wallet, but I stopped short of buying the Bitcoin. And the reason why was because I was still reading articles saying it was unregulated. If someone took your coin, you couldn't get it back. Hackers was going into individuals' accounts, stealing their coins, and so they kind of made me a little nervous because at the same time, it's one thing in me losing my money through an investment, but it's another thing someone stealing my money.
Okay.
And it was with, I think at the time, the platform that I was going to use to purchase my Bitcoin was MT Gots or something, and I just didn't do it. Fast forward, 10, 15 years later, Bitcoin is fluctuating between 20,000 to $50,000 a coin, give or take any year or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit upset that I didn't really stick with Bitcoin because I didn't jump back into the Bitcoin craze until it was at $5,000 to $6,000 a coin. And that kind of put a sour taste in my mouth. The only thing that makes me feel a little bit better about my decision not to invest in Bitcoin at the time was when I learned that that platform that I was going to use, MT Gots, had went bankrupt because someone went in and stole everyone's coins. So me knowing me, I would have been one of those ones who got all his coins stolen. So I'm a little bit happy that I didn't do it, but I am upset that I didn't stick to monitoring and jumping on that bandwagon when it was really profitable, when it would have been really profitable for me. So besides in stock investments, Bitcoins, and I do have some coins now, real estate, invested in myself. Uh, I I have a great. I like to diversify my portfolio
Okay,
as well as insurance.
okay, that's cool. All right, so I mean, basically for the most part, we got everything situated. Like I say, even though this live was going to be on real estate, just giving the people some actually different alternative ways, of investing, pretty much like you say within yourself, learning, the process on doing things. And that's where people, kind of fail to realize when you taking that next step and buying a home, when you're taking that next step also with, the majority of things, doing research, kind of understanding. With you having an understanding that doing the research on the Bitcoin, you kind of lost on one end because you didn't invest early, but then you kind of profit on the other end because if they would have took your money, you would have lost it anyway. So you pretty had much, had an understanding. You kind of did your homework to the point where your what's the word I'm looking for? You pretty much doing your homework and being aware kind of let you not get caught up in that moment of getting your coins took,
Yeah.
for the most part.
And it's funny you say it that way because I was listening to this. Or I probably got it out of a book, or listening to this audio book because I like to listen to audio books.
Okay. You there? Hello? Is that on my end?
Can you hear me, Rashid?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
So I was listening to this millionaire say, millionaires aren't millionaires by how much money they make. They're millionaires by how much money they don't lose. And I kind of took that to heart. So I try to make sure I lose as less money as possible. And what that means is don't give money away for freaking fees. Don't give money away for bank fees. Don't give money away you paid your light bill or gas bill late. Now you got to get them an extra $10, $15. I cut all that out. Um, I try to keep as much money in my pocket as possible, making sure that I don't just give money away. And part of that is having good credit because if you start paying everything on time, your credit starts looking good. And on top of that, interest rates start going down. There's less money you even giving away. So if you start off small by saying I'm not going to give anyone money for late fees or bank fees or whatever other kind of fees, then that's going to start a chain reaction. And next thing you know, your accounts is you got more money in your account because you giving less money away.
Okay, so pretty much as you're saying, like you kind of develop a mindset to, always be on the positive instead of the negative. Anytime you have a process to where you gotta pay for a bill, you make sure you pay it on time, which mostly everybody should be doing anyway. But hey, sometimes something happen, and I understand that. But the point of it is a reference. Don't overspend. Don't
Mhm.
kind of take on stuff you can't afford. And we have this situation with keeping up with the Joneses status, and yeah, I get that. So
Mhm.
that's rules to live by.
I'm telling you, it's a good thing when you're not giving money away.
Yeah. Because then they can go to other stuff, like putting some money in stock or maybe even buying a Bitcoin.
Yeah. Um, and that can even go. I'm gonna let you in on the secret. I was able to get a lot of the houses that I got because
Hmm.
I didn't go out and buy the latest car each year. Because I wasn't out here buying my wife Birkin bags. Now my wife, we live good, we eat good, we not missing a meal. We comfortable, pool in the backyard. We living good. But no, you're not gonna find a closet full of Birkin bags, and I'm not no sneakerhead. The car I've been driving is a 2013, and I've been driving that car, and it's running great. I'm probably gonna put another 150 miles on that thing. Hopefully, cross my fingers before it go down. But I invested in other things. Uh, a lot of dudes like to have a different car every day of the year. I mean, every day of the week. They want to jump into a different car. I could jump into this car. I could jump into that car. This is my Monday car. This is my Tuesday car. Me, I like to say, man, if I want to, I got a different house every day of the week. This my Monday house. This my Tuesday house. This my Wednesday house. This my Thursday house. That's on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Level up.
Um,
Forget the car.
yeah.
I
And
got keys to a house, a different house every day of the week.
yeah, I look at that, too as well. And I look at the way people dress and stuff, and kind of carry themselves. Back in the day, I used to dress, somewhat fly. And I was just recently having a conversation with my brother, and he was like, man, called me by my old name from high school, saying that, you was fresh to death. And I used to, want to borrow your clothes because, you spent a lot of money. But, my thing of it was it was a process on growth because as I got older, I started, dressing more casual. I keep a collar shirt on now, and I tell people I'm actually 40 now. So I'm not. I wear a t-shirt every now and then, a jersey every now and then. I go to a game, or I'm going to some sporting event. Yeah, I throw a jersey on. If I'm going to anything as far as business wise, conducting business, I always have my three button up, or just a regular button up shirt. If it's a formal to the point where I got to wear a jacket and tie, then so be it. Quick story. There was a situation one time, you know the guy, but basically this guy had a business and started a business, everything, all the paperwork was done, and it was a home care business, nursing, and I was telling the guy before all that, hey man, you have to start dressing and looking a certain way, and he's like, yeah, yeah, I got all that, kind of brushed me off, and so we were going out. It was me and me and two other friends. We were going out. I mean, basically that guy and another friend. So it was three of us going out to eat. And the thing that kind of struck me was there was an elder lady that fell, and just so happened, like I say, he do home nursing, and I got on my collar shirt. Him and the other guy, they was like, well, we're just going to get something to eat. We're gonna bring it back to the house. So they just wore tank tops. And when the lady fell, it kind of set the stage for him to, kind of dress his age or dress a little more appropriate, I could say. And he ended up, telling me to give the lady his business card for his company. And I laughed and I was like, why don't you give it to her? You kind of remind me when you talked about that. And I told him, why don't you give it to her? And he was like, man, look at the way I'm dressed. And I was like, I told you. And I snatched the card from him, gave it to the lady. She said, thank you. She's going to try to get her daughter, get in contact with him. I don't know if she did or not because, I never followed up with him on it. And I think I should do that to this day. But pretty much for the most part, I remember him calling me. And this guy, all his shirts were big because back in the early 2000s, that was the style. And
Mhm.
so he had literally, I would probably say about 40 to 50 something polo shirts alone he was giving away. They were collar shirts, but they were just too big. And then he had t-shirts and all, just a lot of big, to a degree clothes. And, he bought little things that were more fitting for him, not tight, but, you know, his size, actually versus, wearing the bigger clothes.
Mhm.
And I kind of say when he did that, his business kind of changed for the better,
Yeah.
and going back on that, like you were saying, spending, when needed to be spending, like me now, for me, trying to be the freshest and kind of looking back on it, I spent a lot of money. More or less, I kind of get my kids dressed a certain way. They look nice. I wouldn't give them everything as all the Jordans or all the shoes, but they have nice shoes and a Jordan pair here or there, but not nothing too overboard
Right.
because want to show them the value of your money being going further, investing at an early age.
Yeah.
Because like you were saying, the research, I wasn't taught this when I was young, more or less about buying a house. The biggest thing I learned as a young kid was about life insurance and paying your bills on time. Never learned about credit too much, never learned about the process on buying a house. So these things I kind of grew over time as being an adult, the process of taking on that responsibility and learn it because I didn't learn it as a kid.
Yep. It's not about the brands. I am about the fabric, the cut, the style, as in, and not just style. What you might be thinking. I mean, it is a certain look you want to portray in business, business casual, or if you're in a casual environment, black tie. You need to know what to wear in the black tie environment. But it's not really about the name. It's about the quality of the clothes, the stitching of the clothes. It's about the type of fabric. Whether you want all wool or cotton or whatever the case may be. But I don't get hooked up on names. Um, and I think that's important.
Yeah, and that's one of the bigger things with me now. You know, it's funny because I wear a lot of Jack Nicholson shirts that are 3 button casual, and they sell them at Walmart now. But I mean, the biggest thing is I go buy those type of shirts because I mean I like the material. I
Hmm.
don't buy it because it's a name brand for this, people or this or that. I buy it because of the material. I like it where it fits and it looks on my body. And I'll spend some money on some quality materials. And even with suits, I gotta get back into buying me more suits. And you know, I learned that when I was young, every man should have a suit, at least
Hmm.
one suit. Preferably a black suit because you can use that black suit with anything. Get you a blue shirt, white, always a white shirt. Black shirt to go with it too. All black out is cool, but a white shirt, that's for funerals, going to conduct business, anything. So I was always known to, just have at least one suit if I'm gonna buy suits. But over the time I had bought several more, and that's the thing, looking your age. There's a guy, he did a video on here on YouTube, LAR movement, and he talked about looking your age, where you get to a point about having a guy who's 50 some years old, and this ties into buying a house. You go to buy a house, you kind of wrote off the bat by someone coming in at 50, 60 years old, graying his beard, looking kind of an older gentleman, sagging his pants, basketball jersey on, gold chain or something like that. The bank is already writing you off. I mean, you can have plenty money in the bank, but it goes off your first impression. You know, I think he kind of dropped off, but that says the least. With even with that, I know a guy, he owned his own business, but he ended up having construction clothes on, and he was looking to buy a car, and the actual dealership was looking at him a certain way due to the fact he came in there and he had the money. He ended up buying one of the cars straight off the dealership floor because he actually had the money. And like I say, that kind of, it's not a big thing because overall, when they run the numbers, they know how much money you make, but it kind of goes into a point of how people treat you and look at you as well. So I think he probably had a call or something. But we're gonna end up wrapping it up anyway. But for the most part, I kind of wanted people to get an understanding, the process on buying a house, what was his journey, the things he went through, and talked about having his 5 houses. I didn't want to, run down his whole list of things, but just kind of give a variety. But for the most part, talked about him investing. You know, not only do you have these houses, you have the process of investing in the things as well. And some business you have that you invest in, you know, it could be public. A lot of people know, and you help people and show them. And it could be just certain things that you only invest in yourself. You know, and situations. One of the biggest things I got from the conversation with him was having a point when Corey was talking about, you know, not not overpaying, having that money, not paying people when you don't have to. So that's one of the biggest things that I kind of got from that conversation. Okay, he's back. About to get ready to go ahead and wrap it up. Anything from real estate, you want to talk about buying a home, or if not, just something else. Words of wisdom for somebody to know.
Um, I would say get into real estate. History has taught us that find out the majority of the individuals, millionaires and billionaires alike, that have that financial freedom, it all started in real estate for the vast majority of them. And it is, you got to think real estate, especially if you're renting out property, that's three sources of revenue that can potentially be there. That's is coming from the rental income as well as the tax benefits and the equity that's built up into the house that you can use to purchase more assets with in the future. Get your strategy together. A lot of people like to fix and flip. I'm not a fix and flipper. I'm a holder. I'm only gonna sell if it's financially logical and makes sense, and the objective or the goals that I'm trying to reach warrants me to sell a piece of property. But just to flip it, no, I'm not gonna do it. So get your strategy. That's my strategy, but identify your strategy and stick to it. Do your research to figure out what do you have to do in order to make your strategy viable. And lastly, just educate yourself on this because I tell everyone, if someone told me they was going to give me $20,000 just to read this book, well, ain't no question, I'm finna read this book. You gonna give me $20,000 to read this book? That's exciting to me. And 9 times out of 10, that's happened indirectly, but it's happened. So educate yourself.
Okay. And I mean, that taken away from Gold Professor. He started the 9 laws of self government. And with the 9 laws of self government, law number 4 is read, you know, and reading, you get the knowledge, you have an understanding, but not only just reading for the purpose to learn, developing reading the room, understanding who you're around, how they can influence you. That's another form of reading, having an understanding of your surroundings, the people around you, what's going on. And with one of the things you touched on as well is law number 9, plant these seeds and be patient. A lot of people, like you said, you want that instant gratification. You want the money now that JG went for. It's my money. I want it now, you know. And, another law that kind of goes into this is law number 8, build something. With the 9 laws of self govern, it's pretty much for you to, be a better person and have an understanding of you. I'll break those 9 laws down to you one day. I actually do them on my screen. I might even text them to you to go over 'em. I mean, it's been powerful for me to kind of set my stage, and I've been telling my kids that. I've been kind of talking to my wife. I'm actually might even getting to the point of getting them written down and have a painting on my wall, so when my kids walk around, that's the only thing they're gonna learn is the 9 laws of self-government. But say the least, um, you know, planting the seed, being patient, and you endured the process. And from all your investments, I wish you more success with that. And from this point on, you know, grading your endows. I'm about to go ahead and end this. You know, Shout out to everybody that looks at this on the replay. And like I said, I'm always telling people I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a real estate agent. I'm just actually giving you the keys to actually help you start the process on your successful journey. Some people, all they need is a push. It could be one person that listens to this video and listen to Corey and says, well, if he can do it, I can do it too. Let me go ahead and pick up a book. Let me go ahead and, do some research. A lot of people have free videos on YouTube, but to a degree, even to the degree if you're lazy, you can buy a course. In the end, it's all according to you with your learning curve, the process in which how fast or slow you want to get to where you're going. So in the end, a lot of people you just got to take that next step. You know, it's not hard. You just gotta, like Nike say, you just gotta do it. And like I always say when I get out of here, till next time, we here and we gone.